Whispers in the Wind.
Hello and welcome to Whispers in the Wind, a show about real stories from real people. Today, we have a story from my good friend Raimu Itfum about what it means to be an artist, how it can bleed you dry, tear your whole world in half, but still give you some of the best experiences life has to offer. And above all else, how it can make you question and influence your choices in life. This is his story. Why do you want to share your story with us?
Bloody don't know, to be honest with you. Why does anybody want to share their story? I wanted to share this specific story because I think it's interesting to show a perspective that lines with your future and your past. So there's lots of little tidbits, and I think there'll be lots of little nuggets that, you know, might latch on to. If we talk about the industry, we talk about the mechanics of the industry, we'll talk about the specificity of it, which might be great to share personally as part of just therapy, but also to reflect on your life. And I think this would be a really, not a special, but like a tender.
All right, so where does your story start?
I think if we start at like a young age, I think as a kid, we always have an inkling of what we want to do, right? And I think it's up to our surrounding body. So whether that's parents, whether that's family or caretakers, whoever that is, to kind of nurture that and kind of guide us into that, be it teachers or anything. So I was always into, and I always say this up until like, I think maybe the moment I'll die, which is like, I'm a student of the arts. I really thrive on anything, whether that's like cooking, whether that's painting, whether that's like performing. When I lived in like Pakistan and doing stuff at assemblies, and you've been to Pakistan, right?
Actually, just got married. They came back from here.
Yeah, there you go. So like the assemblies there are like notorious so when we would sing like the national anthem, or when we would do like little plays in Alhambra, I think it is, in Lahore, there's a hall. And yeah, I think like I was just always into the arts. It was an escapism for me. As a child, all you do is like you create fantasies.
I was going to say, so you started in Pakistan then?
Well, I started in Holland. Okay. I was born in Holland, moved to Pakistan, then came to the UK.
That is one hell of a trip. So you started in Holland. Yeah. How old were you?
When I moved to Pakistan?
Yeah.
I was about 3 or 4, I would say 3 or 4.
And you remember still?
What, Holland or Pakistan? Both I remember. I think my earlier days in Holland I don't remember as much because that was quite young, but I remember like since I'm massively into like sensation therapy and things like that. In my times in regards to Holland, I remember more like memories and sensations. There's this person who I met recently. Well, I say recently. Her name is Susan something, and she's massively into like sensational therapy. So she's a director, curator, and a choreographer, and she really talks about like movement through the vessel that is sensation. So when you touch somebody, how does that feel? Harshness, the softness.
That's a bit like Uta Hagen in acting, because we did that with Uta Hagen. She teaches you about sensory memory.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So it is sensation. So I remember like certain things because my father passed away when I was like 1 or 2. So I remember certain things about living in that apartment, that flat compound there. And then I remember much more of my years in Pakistan, like in Multan and Lahore. So I'd say like I remember, in a long-winded answer, a lot of it. It's interesting, every time I go back to Holland, I remember instantly the route from the flat that we used to live in to my school. Like I can close my eyes and just walk it, and they have built like lots of, which they do in London as well, like lots of compounds, lots of houses, and they've boarded off stuff, but like I can just picture myself as a child just walking along. So yeah, I'd say I can remember it.
So did your journey of getting to the arts, did it start there?
You know what? My first ever vivid memory would be me performing to like some, on Eid, performing to like some good old Noor Jahan tunes, followed by TLC, followed by Peter Andre's Mysterious Girl, because that shit just came out.
Fair enough,
I'd
fair
say
enough.
like my earliest memory of performing would be around those time.
Okay, what were you actually doing? What were you performing?
Oh, it was just dance, mate. Just
Yeah?
pure on dance. Stupid dance. I don't even know if I can like remember the shit. But like, yeah, it would be like Noor Jahan followed by TLC followed by Peter Andre.
Because you're a professional dancer, aren't you?
I don't like, so this is the interesting thing that when I got into the industry, I hate the word professional because people, no, should I tell you why? I think it's just my personal association with it. People use professional in lots of connotations, which I personally don't like to align with. But when you're on set, so people will be like, oh, but if you're meant to be in a professional environment, you shouldn't be acting like this. Or like if you're meant to be a professional actor, or like if you're meant to be a professional dancer, you should have X amount of credits. Or if you want to get on Spotlight, you know, so like I think what I would like to say is I'm a working performer, I'm a working artist, and that is something that I picked up from Naomi Campbell, because she says that she's not a supermodel, she's a working model.
Yeah, so I was going to say, okay, so you started in Lahore and...
Yeah, I mean Holland, but go for it. Yeah. La Holland.
Lahore, there you go. Or is it Halor? Because you went Holland first, then Lahore, so...
Yeah, hello.
Halor.
I like hello. Sounds like a restaurant.
So from there you came to England.
Yeah, massive culture shock.
Yeah?
Did you ever grow up in Pakistan?
I grew up here in England, but I did go to Pakistan when I was really young.
Man, oh man, the school system is like so different.
Oh, I bet.
Like, I went to a grammar school literally right outside Imran Khan's, like it's not that far away.
In Pakistan?
In Pakistan.
Imran Khan, do you want to tell who Imran Khan is, just for people who don't know?
He's a cricketer. Like the former prime minister. Is he still the prime minister?
So much stuff.
He's a politician. I'm just going to say this.
Yeah,
he's a politician who's either a former, and please pardon my ignorance, even though I'm doing something for the people of Pakistan's floods right now, but pardon my ignorance.
Right, so you're a dancer, you're a performer.
I would say acting was my first thing. Dance happened later on in life. I've always danced. Dance is part of our culture. Yeah, dance happened when I graduated from university in Newcastle, and I came back to London, and I was, for about, I'd say like 2 years, I was doing the circuit of like being an extra, being a supporting artist, as they call essays.
Yeah.
And I was just like doing all the shows, and I was doing all the shows, and I would do like films and bits and bobs, and I was like, I miss being a part of my culture and doing something. And back in the day, I don't know if it's still here, there was something called Star Now.
It's still there.
Is it still there? Yeah.
Because I had a similar route to you.
Yeah. So I went on Star Now, and I was just applying for anything because I worked in fashion, and I was like, why don't I just apply for like certain jobs? And I was a part of like a New Talent Models One board.
So hang on, you work for fashion as a model, or?
I worked as a model. So I worked in editorials, and I worked as a fit model when I was in school onwards, so like year 10, 11 onwards.
So you got dancer, actor, model, you got the full triple threat.
But I think everybody does it. Like in sixth form, I did arts and design. So I really am a student of the arts. And
That's awesome.
yeah, but you can't label that. Like you drive, you cook, you do your business, you're doing this now, you're an actor now. So I think like it's...
Of course, no, it's true.
yeah,
There's
I
no limitation to art. Okay, so actually going into the industry first, into the industry, how was that for you? From when you actually started going into the actual industry, that changed. Was it hard? Was it not hard?
It was hard. It still is hard. It was hard because I have... Oh, it's a question that I'm thinking about how to deliver. So I asked this question on my podcast, which is, if you didn't have your who you are as a person, so take your support and everything aside, the confidence that you have as a person, if you didn't have your grit, and then add in the fact that your support of your family, your friends, emotionally, financially, whatever it may be, and your faith, your conviction in spirituality, religion, what it is, if you didn't have those three pillars, would you still continue to do what you're doing? And I asked that because early on, I would say eight onwards, I kind of felt out of line of calling myself a Muslim, because I came to realize who I was going to be someone down the line, that I was going to be in the creative industry. I also realized like my sexual feelings towards people was changing. I also realized like my gender, because identifying as non-binary sometimes, and figuring out where I fit within that space. I was like, I'm changing, and I was like, I have too much respect for the religion I grew up in to call myself that. Because you see, like, we all see Muslims smoking and like going out and then having girlfriends and then but then also having wives and then cheating on them, and then also not playing like zakat or not doing umrah, and like you're like talking about like so many things of what, you know, the pillars of Islam, and you're not following them. And I was like, I don't want to be a disgrace to my family and my religion that I grew up in, and by calling myself that and betraying those laws. So I was like, I don't want to align myself. I still like to live by the principles that I grew up in. Treat people kindly, be nice,
Be a good person.
yeah, be a good, kind, respectful person. And I think those are the pillars that for me Islam promotes, and any other religion.
I agree. It's more about peace than anything else. Yeah.
So then my faith went out, and I was, from 8 onwards, I was in search of spirituality. So like going to like Buddhist monasteries or
So 8 years old.
yeah.
Wow.
And then I stopped fasting and doing Jummah prayers or anything like that. I would say maybe like 12. So I stopped doing all of those things. So that takes out one of my pillars. And then my family and I, we had a rift because they knew that I wanted a very heavy career in the arts industry, and they were very against it.
I was going to say most Asian parents they're not very forthcoming.
Which is fine, I completely understand.
However, Rai wasn't the only one who had entered the arts from his family.
I recently was going through my memory box and I posted it on my stories. My dad was heavily involved in the arts growing up, and it was because of his pursuits in the arts that his family and him were kind of like at torns.
So, was your father by your side?
He passed away.
Of course.
So then, like, also growing up with a single parent, my mother, who got married at a young age, who went from like living in her hometown in Lahore to then living in Holland, to then her husband passing away, coming here, and then England. Like, that is and my mother has her own like stories and her own hurt that like gave her this sort of look into my life, which came out of fear. And it's fine that you should do that. So then I didn't have the support of my family or my friends. Like, it's very rare. I have a very close circle of friends. A lot of them tour, but very rarely have they come and supported me at my specific shows or classes or anything, which is fine. And we have had grown conversations about that. So that pillar is gone. And then my confidence as a person was knocked down because I was told I was fat, I was ugly, I was a packy bitch, I was a terrorist, I was a faggot, and all of those things before I even explored all these things as a kid. Wow. And being told by my cousins and my family that you know how in anger you say you don't amount to shit, and you're like,
yeah, you kind of retaliate,
or you're kusra or things like that. It's fine, and I understood with like now going through therapy, but I was just like, that pillar is gone. So my first ever, like, I did Fame the musical at I think it's called the Secom Theatre in Sutton.
Nice.
That was my first working job that I did.
That actually got paid for as well?
That I got paid for.
You know what? High five. Honest to God, because that's an amazing thing.
It's not a lot. I think it was like £50.
You know what? Even if it's £1, you're getting paid for it. Yeah. You get experience. You see how it is to be on set. If you've not been on set, you can't even fathom what happens.
Yeah. Some great actors. Octavia Spencer was an SA. Yeah. If you watch a lot of like movies, she was an SA. And like, what's her name? Tiffany Haddish. She was an SA.
And she's a phenomenal actress.
And a comedian. So when I did my first job, I remember going to the audition because I found out about it through my drama teacher. And my drama teacher was like, this school and this theatre are doing a production, but they're also paying performers, you should do it. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I remember my cousin taking me on a Saturday morning to go to the audition, and he was like, what the hell is happening? And I was like, Uber didn't exist back then. Cabs were like so expensive. So I asked him, I was like, oh, I need to go for an interview for like a, so I lied about it. Even doing that job, I lied to my family. So I had no sort of something to share that with. And I think that is the the most difficult part. So to go back circulating in a long-winded answer, it was difficult because I personally felt that I had nothing and no one to turn to, which is why the arts for me are an escape and a savior. Because for me, it might be a vanity thing. It might be, through more therapy, I'll find out why exactly I link towards it so much. But that is like my saving grace, my everything.
So, the fact that your family didn't support you in this journey, and the fact you found a release through the arts.
Yeah.
So, what made you go to therapy?
I was in therapy when I was 14, I think, maybe even 12. I used to have really bad asthma in the last couple of years. So I started getting asthma attacks, and then I was a very rotten child. Now that I look back, and I've apologized to my mother about it. Like, if my cousins got gifts and I didn't, I used to have temper tantrums.
Oh, right.
And never understood why. It's like, now that I see kids doing temper tantrums, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing shit for? Like, shut up. But when I was 12 and maybe 14, I think around that age, I started getting really bad, like, not tantrums, but like episodes, I would say, where I would react to anything and everything. And there were moments where I started getting so angry that I don't know what this is called, but like my body would just stay still, and I would, like, my jaw would tense up, my body would tense up, and I would go in a state of just ultimate, like, I don't know what that word is called. I think there's a diagnosis for it, but like I would just basically solidify, and it would take a couple of hours for me to like relax again, and it affected like a lot of. It can affect like nerves and things like that.
Did it just happen instantaneously? You couldn't control it?
Triggers that I'm sure I've blocked out because of certain things. But I started going to counseling at school because school noticed it. And then I started going with my family. And then later on in life, I've had certain episodes, and I think I want to go therapy again this year because I think therapy is like going to a doctor, and that's certain things that is stigmatized within our culture, I think. Like family dynamics, personal stuff. I think everybody should be in therapy, because if you get a cold or anything like that, if any sort of like physical thing happens to you, you go to A&E, you go to your doctor. And I think your mental health like activates a lot of things, and it can create certain things in your body, imbalances, so many other things. So that's where therapy came out for me, and that's why I wanted to do it.
I think you're right in the sense that you have something inside you and you express it, which you should. I think that's what. Actually, that brings me to the next question. I mean, with regards to the dance, I mean, of course you said you didn't really have your family with you. So who actually helped you along this journey?
Oh, that's an interesting. I don't want to deny the people or disgrace the people that helped me along this journey,
Because
everyone gets. But like, I think that's a interesting concept, because what do you mean by help? Like, do you mean financial help? Do you mean like, because
the thing is, everyone's journey is very different. So someone might not need financial help. They might need spiritual help. Someone might need financial, but the thing is, you don't know where it comes from until it's come. So even if you didn't get financial help, I'm sure you would have got help in one way or another from people you don't even expect it from.
I mean, you can contribute, like, in a way. Like, if you technically think about it, my mom did maybe pay for like a couple of dance classes, but like, did she know she was paying to dance classes? No. She was paying money for something else that I used towards dance.
She still helped somehow.
In terms of dance, that's a very difficult question, because growing up, I had knowledge and I watched videos, but like there would be no one specific person. There'll be the entire, like, from be it like choreographers or like Bollywood actors or like Peter fucking Andre, who I was watching on Mysterious Girl.
Fair enough.
But like, there was no specific person. Later on in life, I would like to thank one specific person.
Go for it.
I think that person who gave me the gift of understanding what dance is, and she stays in my heart to this very day. And I talk about her, who for me is like my spiritual, and at a point she was my mentor as well. So I was dancing for a Bollywood company. My first, no, not my first. I was dancing for a Bollywood company, and they used to train at this studio in Chiswick. It's called Arch 197. It's a charity-based dance studio. And I think I'm in my mid-20s at this point. Yeah, I'm in my mid-20s. And I was falling out with my family heavily. I wanted to explore myself as a person more and have the freedom to do it, because I couldn't even listen to music at home because my family was getting more and more religious. They were finding out Islam more, and I think my mum and my sister were going through their own journey into healing themselves. So we basically had a lot of rows, and I left home and I started working at the dance studio prior to me leaving home, and I started living at the dance studio. And Jackie found out, Jackie Batista, who owned Arch 197, and she basically said that I could live there for as long as I wanted.
Wow.
She even said that I could come and crash her house, but she has so many people to take care of that she was like, but if you want food, and she got me a job near a bakery there, and she talked to, there was a gym next door, and she was like, if you need to use their showers, you can use their showers. But that became my space. And at nights, I would like just put on music or like explore movement. And she, man oh man, she gave me the best gift of life. That place was like my soul.
I think, okay, so what were your first few experiences actually going into the industry? As in, what was your route? Because when you entered the industry, what were your first few professional jobs? Your sort of bigger professional jobs.
My bigger professional jobs.
Top three off your head.
Top three off my head. I always find this so interesting, because I always say my jobs are yet to come. No, because they are. Because I'm sure you will find this as a performer. Like, you'll think about that job. But I'm a very sort of reflective person. And for me, like, even doing like, I've made it as a dancer in specific roles. And, like, I got casted in the lead as a commercial. But if you see that commercial, I'm barely in it. I have the payout of being a lead, and I get buyouts, like I've gotten that 3 years in a row. But if you look at that commercial, I'm not a lead in that commercial. Some people else are. And for me, then that saddens me, because it's the vanity of being a performer. You're like, oh man, I wish I had something to show for it. Or you'll be like, or I'll see certain things that happen behind the scenes of how, like, when I was an SA and now I'm like either an actor or a choreographer or a director, and now I see how essays are treated, then that dampers the experience for that. Or if I have a conversation with a producer about something or a costume, then so like it's really hard for me to think about that. And it's something that I'm trying to work at. Top three. The one that comes to mind, which is going to be coming out, is the film by Jamal Khan that's coming on Shekhar Kapoor, which is called What's Love Got to Do With It? And I got to assistant choreograph on that.
Nice.
Which is, I think, a massive accomplishment. Yeah, that film is coming out next year, and I shared the trailer of that. But I got to work as an assistant choreographer on that film, and the people who get the big jobs like that are the big Bollywood companies or the heads of Bollywood companies. And I was very fortunate that there is nobody in like my circle, because a lot of my peers who come from that ilk of life are predominantly killing the game as actors, models, and dancers, but none of them are in the same ilk of like doing that sort of job. And also, like, coming from Pakistan, that was a very special film. So that's gonna come out next year, and it starts like Lily James, Shazad Latif, Shabana Azmi. So yeah, so it was a fab project. So that's gonna be coming out. So that, I would say, top three. Let's try and give you different sections of something. Time with Raimu has been like a massive accomplishment of mine, and for me, it's like at the top of my game, because and I'm sure yours will be as well, as you get asked questions, because it's something you're doing out of your own passion, right? It's something you're trying to create as opposed to somebody that is giving you a big project to be a part of. That's something that you're carving out for yourself. So regardless if 10 people listen to it or if 10,000 people listen to it, you're doing this yourself. It's like,
This is my own show.
yeah, but it's like when our generations before, they built it like shops and businesses and hotels and things like that, and that was them creating their legacy. This is you creating your own sort of space, and I think Chai with Rai for me is a massive accomplishment. And
Chai with Rai.
yeah,
That was your podcast, wasn't it?
it is. I mean, it's not, ain't dead yet. Fucking hell, killing my show already. What is wrong with you? No. I can just about bloody hell, I got a deadline to put out one episode tomorrow. But that for me is, yes, I would love for that to be like, you know, when I see like people going on Graham Norton being like, yeah, we're touring our podcast.
You know what?
I would fucking live for that day, and I can't wait for that day that Chai with Rai is at a space where, or there's this guy named Lewis House who does like School of Greatness, or Rob Dowles, like all of these people who have like Kevin Hart, who have like these fucking big podcasts. Like I would love for you and I, and so many of the people who put like effort into their work. So yeah, Chai with Rai would be a massive accomplishment for me, because that is something that's like my baby. I call it my hidden box of gems, which I think invertedly goes along with the same message of yours.
Yeah.
Everybody creates it because they're interested in stories and finding from people and learning from them. So
It's true. I mean, I think the biggest art form, or the oldest art form in the world,
storytelling.
is quite literally storytelling.
Yeah.
There is nothing you will do that does not have a story to it. Name me, even if you're sleeping, you're not conscious, I could tell you there's a story there.
Yeah.
Do you know what the amount of sleep trackers that you have? There's a story in your heart rate. There's a story in your scores.
Yeah.
You know, there's a story in your pulse rate. There's a story in you.
Yeah.
In different ways.
The third one, this is so stupid. I should be able to think of that. I mean, like, it's not my first play. I've written lots of things, and I have written poetry since I was like a teen. Nice. But getting my short play at the Kiln Theatre, that was really nice as well. Yeah, because again, that was something of mine, and to have an establishment produce a play, a short play, and have, you know, that. And having, like, I had two of my friends come to support it, and like a writer mentor who I've reached out to several times, and certain people's...
Who is your writer mentor?
So one of them is Gularana Mir, who I've had on Chai with Rai.
Nice.
She wrote a play called Coconut, and she's been commissioned, I think, currently, if I'm correct in saying, for a Sky TV show.
That's awesome.
And she just got, I think I read her Twitter as you were prepping me for my mic for this, that she's gotten commissioned to do another play right now. So she'll probably release info on that. But she's a wonderful person, and so I'd say she's one of my writing mentors. But yeah, so getting one of my plays at Kiln Theatre, that was a nice thing, and it's a personal story that I wrote about. So yeah, I'd say those three stick out to me right now.
Okay. How did actually pursuing the career path actually affect your life?
Mental health, that's very difficult at points.
Talk to me about that. How was that difficult?
It is very difficult because like there was a point where I was just in the commercial world. So that means I was just auditioning for commercials, TV commercials, whatever commercials, or working as a commercial dancer. And you are not based on, like, you're not judged on your talent. It's not like somebody gives you X amount of slides and you do character work and you do research and you do something. And
the real job of an actor.
I don't know if it's a real job, because like commercials pay you, like, commercials are great, and anybody who's out there, I would say go for it, because you do a day's work, you get a nice little chunk out of buyout, and like everybody then starts like striving for that. But
it's hard.
Yeah, there was a point in my life where like working as a commercial person, I was like, what the hell is happening? And I was doing everything. Like I was taking photographs with this person. I was dressing differently. I wanted to, I worked out like there was no tomorrow. And I thought that is what the perception is. I would change my hair. I was like, should I not change my hair? I'll take off my beard. Should I say I'm Asian? Okay, no, I won't say I'm Asian anymore. Okay, should I not say it that I'm gay? Should I not say I'm queer? Should I say I'm bi? Should I say I'm non-binary? Should I do this? I would have conversations with my agents all the time about that. And I was like, I'm ready to hide whatever. I'm ready to be whatever you want me to.
So you were like a blank canvas.
I was like, but that goes to show the desperation I was like wanting, which a lot of people do, and you second guess yourself. And you just mentioned your gift. You mentioned your gift, and that toxifies your relationship with your gift. Because let's say if storytelling, or like in layman terms, if acting is my passion, if I am not being like, if the vehicle I'm being provided has just simply wheels and like a little box that I'm driving on, and it has no seats to sit on, it has no engine or something like that, I have to pedal that shit, you're gonna get tired soon. Your legs are gonna get battered. You need those things. You need those colors. You need those elements. And for me, that was just like driving me effing insane, because I was just like, what is happening? And to this day, like this year, I have just been like planting the seeds, because I am now going into writing as a paying path. I want that as a paying path. I want podcasting as a paying path. I don't know if I want to dance. I want to act more. And all of these pathways are like also eating my head up. And
So you're really confused of where to go.
because the thing also this is, and I talked about this with a poet 2 nights ago, which was, when you get rejection as well from every single thing, your totality of who you are, it just goes awry. Because then you're not just getting rejected as a writer, you're getting rejected as a director, you're getting rejected as a podcaster, you're getting rejected as a whatever. And then if in your personal life, let's say you're married, right? Yes. So you're doing all of these things. You come home to the missus, and the missus has like done herself up, and she's like cooked a nice meal, but you're like, man, I just wanted a fat steak. Why the hell am I having dal today? I don't want dal chawal today. And then like, but she spent the whole day cleaning and like doing things, and you're like, what the fuck? Or like, you're driving on the road and your parking isn't, done right. You take it on your fucking car, or like a pedestrian that's going by, somebody's crying, like everything starts failing you, and then you go inwards. So like, yeah, it's affected everything. But then like, as soon as a job comes along, like, you're like, yeah. I asked myself a question recently, which was like, I've left the industry sometimes and come back, and lots of people do.
So you've actually left the industry and actually come back?
Yeah, but like lots of people do, or lots of people have side jobs. Like, because we talk about it, and lots of theatre people talk about it, or film people, the feasibility of finance is very slim. And whether that's like through, your mental capability of being in rooms and not working the room, or networking, or playing the game, it's a device. So yeah, like recently I've been questioning myself a lot in regards to what is the future, and how do I want it to be, and do I just give all this up, and just because I love cooking, and I was like, do I just go to cooking school and like start doing apprenticeships and have my own like walk away from the industry, but that is creative.
But why would you want to leave the industry?
The totality of the answer to your question is I don't know if I'm burnt out. One, I'm really, really, really burnt out. And two, I don't know if I'm good enough. And if you yourself don't believe you're good enough, then how will other people?
I agree. I think it is a big problem in the industry where it's like you don't feel like you're good enough, because there's so much talent out there. There is so much.
Agreed.
And you never know if you're amounting to that. But I think it's also, you got to find a way to not compare yourself.
Which is difficult.
It's so hard to do. Because you have the utmost respect for everyone, but at the same time you can't help but, compare. Because although you have the respect for everyone, you want to learn under them, you're in competition with them as well. Do you ever regret the choice of actually going into dancing and acting?
I question it.
You question it?
I question it, but I think that's human. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what if you took a left turn instead of a right turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be in this ditch, would I?
Yeah. Yeah, I question it. I question it, and I don't know if I would have the life experience or who I am as a person today if it hadn't been for that. But yeah, I necessarily question it a lot because there was a point I've never considered myself a dancer.
Right.
Because there are people whose job is a dance. They live, breathe, eat, shit, dance. Although I think nowadays the lines are blurred. But in terms of like, no longer are you just a dancer, you're a dancer act. But I didn't want to disrespect dancers, A. And B, my first loves will always be like fine arts and cooking and acting and writing, and dance was just a way for me to connect with.
And then Rai said something that truly showed his dedication to the arts.
Have you ever been to South Bank Centre?
Yes, I have actually.
Actually, South Bank Centre, the skate park, was my squatting space for quite a long time.
I don't know. Do you still go there?
Squat? No, I have a home now, so I don't need to squat. So I don't need to squat right now. But if I ever become homeless, you never know. I have my house in some places.
I mean to practice.
Yeah, I did go to practice there. It was really lovely. I was a part of a company called Alias London, and we used to sometimes go there and rehearse. Even in Lambeth North, there was a studio there.
I think just going back to the homeless bit. How long were you homeless for?
Oh,
As a total?
bloody hell! Lord knows.
Been that long?
No, it wasn't that long. I've been homeless in like lots of different parts, but then calling yourself as homeless is weird because when I was living in the studio, so I had technically a home. And
I know, but I
and
guess...
then I moved into a fitness studio for like 4-5 months and lived in that closet for like it was literally a closet.
Wow.
For a good solid couple of months. And then so I don't know. I think it's it's an interesting experience to go through.
What do you think you've gained through this path?
Through my path?
Through your path into the industry and coming out, what have you gained?
Coming out? I ain't come out yet.
You said you come in and out. So when you came...
yeah, well, I ain't like...
You're not out yet. But as in this
What do you mean?
this pathway to the industry, being in it, what's the number one thing that you have gained?
Oh, that's such a good, juicy question that I ask other people, and I never want it to be the answer. No, because you ask other people on their fucking reflections, and you're just like, shut up. What's the number one thing? I think like the one thing I would say is that I've learned is like complexities. Like people are complex, this industry is complex, you're complex, but it also doesn't have to be. If you have assurance in a lot of things, and if you have clarity in a lot of things, and surround yourself with things that will hold you, whether that is something practical, something emotional, whatever, like as difficult as it is, if you need to be your own champion and your own cheerleader, then yeah, but things are fucking complex. But I think that's in every day and age. It's like for a single mother who's living in a council estate trying to, working 3 jobs and trying to put her kids through anything, or, somebody who is an RBS directing manager and has to worry about, 5 million jobs and his bratty children acting out. Like, yeah, life is complex, man. It's a lot of complexities. But you gotta be kind, you gotta be respectful, and you gotta be real. So if that means showing your depressed colors, show depressed. Like, I remember meeting you, right? And I would tell you if I had a shit day. But I remember a lot of teachers in a lot of companies I've worked with, they'd be like, why the hell are you telling the client you've had a shit day? Or like, why are you telling them you're ill? Yeah. Like, what like you're meant to attain an image. And I'll be like, because that's me. Like I'm giving, and if that's not like, if you don't appreciate it, not appreciate, like if you're not responsive to it and you're like, man, we don't want somebody who's like feeling unsure and having a shit day. I'm paying them money to teach me something. Like that means they're not gonna, but if that's your out thinking and this is my way of connecting with you, then maybe we're not meant to be aligned. So
Is there anything you want to say to our listeners to help them along this path of the art?
obviously, then other than being kind, respectful, and like, I'd say a couple of things. If your friend is or like somebody in your close circle is launching something, give them the love and the appreciation and the respect and the uplifting that they need in order to be doing that. Don't just do it for big companies or big brands because they already have something. Do it for them too. I'm not saying you have to change your ethics, but I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with doing that for people within your community because they're also trying to establish something for themselves that is coming from a space of whatever reason, be it malice, be it something. Well, if it's malice, maybe not support them. And another thing which I always say, I think like there's a lot of people who work and do things that they're unhappy about or don't find fulfillment in. Find something that fulfills your soul.
How do you go about finding that?
Well, I used to say this. I remember my mother, and I used to say this to her because we would have a lot of conversations about like how she would talk to me and how how our dynamic was. And I understand that a lot of it came from fear and mostly from love because your parents or your close ones always have love for you and they want you to be the best version of you. But I said, do something for yourself because in our world, like, we're talking about parents right now, like we are our parents' life for a general part of, like, I would say for a generalization sort of statement. Do something for yourself, like treat yourself to a spa if you need to, which is a most basic thing. But like, don't cook for your kids today. Like, really don't. Like, allow yourself to do whatever it is that you need, or really have a conversation with your kids or your partner, your husband, your wife, your anything, and be like, can you do this for me for one day? I want to feel like this and I haven't felt like that. Or I used to say this to my mother and I used to be like, write your life, man. I was like, take a diary and write your life. And I was like, you don't have to, because she has had a tremendous amount of ups and downs and all the in-betweens, which I'm sure your parents have as well.
I think everybody.
And every single person has. And I was like, write it down, let it out so you don't hold on to something. And I was like, write me something, all of the things that you would want for me to do in my life that I'm not doing, my disappointments, my encouragements, whatever. Like, write it down. Learn English so you can, like my mother does speak broken English, but like so you can make doctor appointments for yourself, because God forsake, I know she's old, but I was like, what if I get hit by a car? Who's going to look after you? Like, who's going to book your doctor's appointment that you're not able? Like, do something that if you want to be a baker and you have a regular 9 to 5 and you have 5 kids that you're taking care of and you're not able to do that, in 1 month, just bake cookies.
Take care of yourself.
Like, but it's more than that. It's like, fuel your passion. What would yours be?
I think if you're listening, what I would probably say is everyone's journey is unique and you've got to embrace the journey. Sometimes, most of the time, you're probably going to feel like you're in a car driving through mist with one headlamp on. And that's something Neil Gaiman said when writing a book, but I think it applies to life. Yeah. You are going through mist with a car with one headlamp on, and you don't know what's going to come on. You don't know if it's going to be a beast, you don't know if it's going to be a friend. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I think you just got to trust your vehicle, trust you, and trust that no matter what comes through the mist, you can deal with it. And even if you get to a point that you don't think you can, there's nothing stopping you from just slowing down and thinking things through. No matter what it is, just slow down a little bit. I think the number one thing is here, people seem to think, I gotta go fast, I gotta do this, I gotta do. And I understand that, But I think you can also just take a breath. Take a breath. When things get too overwhelming, take a breath. If you don't know what to do, take a breath. Just that's all you need. A breath is all you need. If you got so many things to balance and everything else, understand you've already been doing it. You've already been doing it. It's become too much right now because you've not taken the time out, as you've said, to do what you need to do. And sometimes that just means taking a breath and going for a walk for 10 minutes. That will do wonders. Listening to your favorite song, because I think it's the small things that help you achieve big things in life. And you just got to be aware of that. Life is hard, complex, and full of mysteries. The journey to true happiness so you can live a fulfilled life is filled with all sorts of challenges and blessings, but it's only through those challenges you understand who you are, what you stand for, and what your true strength is. So never run from life's challenges. To do that means you're simply running from yourself, and that, my friends, is a disservice to yourself. I'm Zafran Ahmed, and this is Whispers in the Wind, giving your stories a voice.